Hello and welcome to the Science Fiction and Fantasy Factory. I'm your host, Mookie Spitz, and on the factory floor with me today, I've got Blake and Sherry Shimshock. They are the authors, the co-authors of the Chronicles of Derek Fade series. Thrilled to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Co-authors. This is intriguing to me because I have tried various creative partnerships to greater, often lesser success. And you guys are a team, a writing team, from what I can tell. Can you tell us a little bit about that dynamic of working on the books together?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I started writing the stories back in college, and I'm a better screenwriter than a novelist. So I write them as screenplays because it's in my head and I write it as it's happening. And one day she asked if she could just play with the stories because she's better as a novelist and getting in their head, And you can take it from there. What you asked.
I think the thing that makes it work is that we each have a different strength. And we each have a weakness too. My weakness is I couldn't come up with the story if I tried. I always wanted to write, and I'm an avid reader. When other kids were out playing, I was reading Charles Dickens. So I've always been into words and what they mean and how they can change the way you think of the world. So, but I can't come up with a story. Heck no. So, but Blake, he can really come up with a story and it just right out of his head, And so it works so well because I know where I'm good and he knows where he's good and we respect it. Yeah.
So you guys complement each other really well. So it sounds like, Sherry, you do the heavy lifting in terms of getting the words onto the page, fleshing out the narrative, and Blake presents that big world, the story, and you guys feed off of each other in that way. Is that how it rolls out?
Yeah, that entire universe is swirling around in Blake's head. That whole galaxy is all the time, and then I just have to figure it out. I say, and because it's action adventure too, when it comes to writing fight scenes, not my specialty, not my reading genre either. So we are, at times have ended up acting them out in the living room till we get it right.
Oh, no.
That could be great for couples therapy too. You guys could kind of let it out. How long have you guys been together?
Ooh, well, let's see. We met in 84.
Yeah, in
at
college.
Riverside City College.
Yeah.
In the astronomy class.
So you guys have been a partnership, a duo for decades. When did this idea flash? Like, Blake has all these amazing ideas, these worlds floating around in his head. Sherry, it sounds like you've been writing for quite some time. How did that spark initially get triggered to collaborate on sci-fi novels?
Well, now that I'm retired, I can say I called in sick one day from work and I just needed a headspace day. And I just said, let me just read some of this. I'd love to play with it. And he said, please do. And I sat there the whole day in my pajamas, just going, oh, this could be like this, and this could be like this. And the words just started to flow. So, and he was okay with what I was flowing with. So we kind of took it from there.
How long ago was that you guys began the creative partnership?
2006?
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Great. So I'm assuming you saw one of Blake's screenplays. He mentioned he's a playwright, screenplay writer. So you wrote the action, what's taking place, some of the dialogue, and that created a perfect outline for Sherry to fill in with long form prose. Is that how it popped? That's terrific. The folks.
I changed the screenplays, because your first draft, it's not going to really happen. So whatever we come up with for the final, then I go in the screenplay and I keep them because I have them ready if
Someday.
Netflix comes calling or something like that.
So you guys don't even need to repurpose the novels. The novels already exist, ready to go. And for that matter, a graphic novel might be something to think about too, because you've got it storyboarded out already in that sense.
And I know a few graphic artists here and there. But who knows?
I'm a writer too, and I always hope to partner up. I was at LA Comic Con with our mutual sci-fi writer friend Ingrid Moon, and she was gracious enough. We shared a table and we sold each other stuff, and they had the artists row in the basement of the LA Convention Center, and I was hobnobbing and trying to schmooze artists. No one really wants to work for free, of course, but if you could find the right talent who fits the motif of your book, of the world that you've created, it could be kind of fun to see it come to life. If Netflix is still waiting or debating or negotiating, you could at least get another human to bring it to life on the page visually. So it could be kind of fun. The writers of The Expanse, I think their names are Abraham and Franck. They are a partnership too, and it seems similar to the dynamic that you guys have. I think Abraham is the Sherry role. He's the long form novelist, and Ty Franck, if I remember his name, he's the Blake role, where he brings the stories and the action, and then they collaborate real well, just like you guys do.
Yeah, that was a great series too. I enjoyed it. It's a little more hard sci-fi, where ours is fantasy.
Yeah.
Or sci-fi adventure.
Yeah, we know, I mean, technically we've been calling it sci-fi fantasy, but honestly, the only thing really truly deeply fantasy about it is the fact that the galaxy doesn't exist, it's adventure. And I think one of the things I love about it, and again, this goes back to the way we work together, and Blake can picture, an action scene, and he can come up with the craziest situations for the characters to get in and get out of, which I can't do either. But I always value a very character-driven story. So more so because, some stories it's always important, but some stories are a little bit more situationally driven. So the behind the scenes situation is driving the story more. I'm the other way around. So it was awesome to be able to take this big picture and then be able to give the characters their place in it, So
give them, they're all their voices too.
Their voices,
yeah. That makes for good fiction. A lot of science fiction is heavy on the science, heavy on the world building, heavy on the hard physics, and a lot of writers, I think, get a little lost in their enthusiasm for all the geeky gadgets and spaceships and wormholes and all this kind of stuff, but I agree with you guys. It's got to be character driven, because we're humans and we're not reading a technical manual or Scientific American or some journal article. We're reading a story about people. We want to be moved by it. And I think great science fiction has that combination where it's a cool backdrop, but it's a character. Tell us a little bit about Derek Fade. Where did Derek Fade come from? Based on the reviews and me checking out your stuff, he's kind of James Bondy. He's kind of funny, and he seems to kind of stumble from one event to the other in almost their own little independent kind of narratives, and then you tie it all together. How did Derek come to life for you guys?
Well, back in college, the teacher said to write a story about a character getting a phone call about something getting stolen. And I just didn't really have Derek yet. Some of the other characters in the second book, I created them first, but I wanted to go back. And I have a friend that his name's Derek, and he's a drummer for a band. We're all heavy metalers and everything. And I just kind of liked his name. He's a cool guy, and he just took his persona and just created Derek Fade. And that's it. It's just really just came really quick, and it had a ring to it. And then when I handed in the story in school, the teacher liked it. He said, "Well, you need to read this in front of the class." I'm like, "Oh man." So I did that, and people were coming up to me after class and, "Oh, that's really cool. I like the creatures in here." And so I just kind of just let it snowball.
Do you, honey, do you remember when Derek became, because I'm trying to remember when he actually became the victim, when the crime came into it, when he became what am I looking for? He became the person dealing with death.
Oh yeah,
and the loss of his wife.
That came a lot later. I'm also a fan of the James Bond movies, and if you're familiar with those, his wife was murdered.
The original Ian Fleming, James Bond, had a lot of emotional stuff. Right.
Everybody has their influences, and that's one of them.
So Derek Fade is dealing with that, and then he gets involved in, it seems one adventure after another. Do you have an overarching arc to the story? Have you kind of laid it out? Because it's a chronicled series, and you're on book 3 now. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It goes right into volume 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Without giving away the show, spoiler alert, but just for folks listening, can you provide a little sampler of some of the key plot elements and what to look out for?
For the third one?
Or just for the whole series? I'm sure a lot of listeners are going to be coming to it for the first time. They've got familiarity and excitement around science fiction, and I think you guys have set it up really well. It's like James Bond, almost like this swashbuckling James Bond. I'm thinking almost Han Solo meets James Bond. I don't know if that nails it, but he's doing crazy stuff across the galaxy. Give our listeners a flavor for what to expect when they dive in.
Well, it's a little bit of Indiana Jones as well. It's just fast-paced. It's been compared to Men in Black and Firefly.
Yeah.
With all the different characters and how they know each other and they play off each other once he gets to know them. Because he starts out as a loner. I work alone, and the boss tells him, "You're going to go with these people. You're going to become part of a team." So he's also learning how to do that and be answering to, his friends. And
yeah, he's a galactic intelligence agent. So he's like CIA in this galaxy, and he's really good at what he does, but he does have a reputation for being a little difficult to work with. So
he's a snob.
He could just be really
talented. People always do, right?
He's grumpy.
Yeah.
He doesn't put up with any, stuff.
Yeah.
So and this is really these 4 books are really his story arc, but Blake has an even larger story. Derek's 4 books.
Yeah,
they're a little piece of it. And when I started helping him, I wasn't even working on Derek Fade. I was working on a completely different story that we're going to come back to, because all of a sudden Derek became so interesting that we put it together. So he's very much he's dealing with grief. His wife was murdered, and he's dealing with the fact that he really, really loves being a GIA, Galactic Intelligence Agent, but he's trying to because he's so obsessed with finding the killer that he sometimes is treading. He treads the line between what is acceptable behavior for GIA and what is not. He likes to step over the line every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really struggling between his grief and the need for revenge, and his job, which is just to bring this guy and others in, for proper justice. So he does struggle with that.
Yeah.
And as time goes on through the 4 books, you see how he struggles through it, how he changes, based on what's happening around him, the things that come into his life through the different assignments he's sent on, and how they affect him and give him pause, thinking about who he is, who he wants to be, where does he want to go from here. But at the same time, every one of these assignments is an adventure, and he sure does get his butt kicked sometimes.
Yeah. And the other characters also grow themselves. They also have their own demons to fight. He ends up helping them, and they all just get along together and get through everything in this crazy galaxy that I created.
Yeah.
Great. It's a slightly Mandalorian-esque, right? Like he's a loner. He's a rogue, right? A little bit, just to identify with a familiar sci-fi trope these days, right? So he's a loner. He starts teaming up. He's a galactic enforcer agent, right? So he's got his duties to do.
Yeah.
But then he breaks the rules every once in a while just to get stuff done, and that has consequences.
It does.
Yeah.
What kind of galaxy is it? So is it a Earth future, or is it the galaxy far, far away kind of thing?
There's no Earth at all, so I'm free to make up anything. We don't have to explain the tech, and there's none of the doom and gloom that Earth was invaded and now we're out here or colonized. Just another galaxy far, far away.
Because that really worked with Star Wars. The second that came up on screen, in a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, it's like leave the problems that we're all facing. Don't extrapolate too much. And to your point, it's not some apocalyptic doom and gloom future. It's not the year 2256, April 5th. It's just it's another reality.
Yeah, we don't want to date ourselves.
It's definitely more escapist than like Earth-based science fiction,
And I use FTL to get everybody, to the planet. And there's no, like in the Expanse, everybody was, what do they call that when they're sleeping, hibernation. Mm-hmm. And then they wake up when they get to the planet. I like to get there quick, do the adventure, and move on.
So it is a lot like Star Wars. You just snap your fingers. The spaceship is like a car. You just kind of get in, you get to where you need to go. It's faster than light, so you don't worry about time dilation and hibernation and suspended animation and wormholes and all this stuff. So you guys don't muck around with that.
No, and I'm glad for that, because that would be so hard to explain. I'm no scientist. That would be so difficult.
Yeah.
So why science fiction? And that might sound like a silly question, but you have an adventurous kind of guy. He's a rogue agent. He interacts with characters. There's a lot of action. And you're not trying to prove any kind of political point or cultural one. And it's not really hard science either, where you just use the setting as something that seems kind of cool. So what drew you to science fiction and fantasy per se? The mood of it, the aesthetic, or you're a geek?
Well, I just love sci-fi. I grew up watching Space 1999 and UFO. And
we have the same haircut. You can't see Blake, but he's another bald guy. And I love that too. With Martin Landau, I saw reruns on WGN TV in Chicago. They played Space 1999 reruns, I remember. And I loved it too. The moon, they had all this radioactivity on the moon, right?
Yeah.
They used the moon as a nuclear dump. And then it was pretty implausible. I think the nuclear dump blew up, and then the moon got dislodged from the Earth. Is that right? Is that was the premise, right?
By Anderson, I forgot his first name, Gary Anderson, and he created that, and UFO as well, and the Thunderbirds.
The moon is a rogue planet in the galaxy. Am I getting this right? And they're on the moon base, and then they encounter all this freaky stuff with the moon just kind of hauling ass through the galaxy, right?
Yeah, yeah, moon-based.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that show in a long time. And they had the cool spaceships that
Yeah, the
y-
Eagles.
the Eagles were badass. And I remember I had a plastic model of the Eagle that I had like built, like a Revell Eagle from Space 1999. I built that. Yeah.
I had the die-cast one, and then I had the mobiles from UFO, and let's see what else. Let's see. I forgot the other ships, but Moonbase Alpha. It reminded me of Star Trek. Instead of the Enterprise, it was the moon that was floating around, going on all these adventures. Yeah.
So that was like kind of science and geeky, but they stretched it, right? And they encountered weird aliens.
And then my father, he was a projectionist in movie theaters. So we saw a lot of films for free. So I grew up with the Charles Bronson revenge movies, the Death Wish and
Yeah.
all the car chase movies, Gone in 60 Seconds and White Lightning and White Line Fever and all that. And so just all that action, it's influenced me. And then when Star Wars came out, it just blew me away. I think I was 12 or 13.
Same here. We're like the same age. That's great. I remember that.
And we actually saw it for free. All the employees brought their families in. We watched Star Wars at 8 o'clock in the morning before everybody else can. And even my father said this is going to be big. He wasn't a big sci-fi guy, but he knew that this is going to be big, and there's going to be another story because how it just left Vader floating around, and so he called it. We had no clue. And then The Empire Strikes Back came out, which is my favorite of all of them still. And
It's the best story too.
yeah, and it's darker like I am, but but I started studying George Lucas, and then I was studying everybody he studied, Joseph Campbell, about the hero's journey. So I said, well, I want to make my own galaxy, and here I am, and this is what I'm doing, and so far so good.
Good for you guys. And how long did it take to go from that initial spark where Sherry saw some of your writing, some of the screenplay like stuff, and started long forming it,
Oh,
and you
man.
guys started riffing
Oh
together?
gosh, because we were both
How
working.
long did it take to Valdoon?
Let's see.
We were both working full time.
That kind of gets in the way, right? Doesn't it suck to have to grow up when you want to be a science fiction writer?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. I mean, like I said, we started with a different story, and I had gone well into that one. And one of the main characters of that story has sort of small cameo in one of the stories of Derek Fade. He meets
a couple of them.
Yeah, he meets them. He meets her.
Yeah.
And but that went on for quite some time, so it's hard to remember when it flipped over to Derek Fade. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Blake likes a big universe, and he likes a lot of people in his stories. It's like his friendships in life.
Mr. Extrovert.
Yes, and I'm the opposite.
You guys are a perfect duo. You guys just yin and yang in every way, right?
Making me crazy to try to put all these people in a story and do it right, and not head hop and not do all the things that you're not supposed to do. And he finally said, why don't we just start with this? And after I'd worked on it for a while, and he hands me the beginning of Derek Fade, and I'm like, cool, one guy's head, at least for the most part. This is where I need to cut my teeth. And that must have been 2011, but then it kind of faded in and out, and then and then
Yeah.
It took about 3 years with both of us working to actually write the two books, because we wrote them at the same time.
Yeah.
And then when you got ready, was it a big, bold, scary, exciting leap to actually let it out into the world? Like making that jump from like it's floating around in your head and it's like a hobby and project to actually becoming indie writers. Did it freak you guys out? or was it like, finally we did this and bring it on?
Yeah, it was a finally moment.
I was a little freaked out.
Yeah.
Well, that's your role. See, he's like, let's have a party, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to throw myself out there. I know that people are going to judge it. They're going to love it or hate it, and that's okay. That's how life is. You just got to go for it and don't regret it, when you're 80.
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. May as well do it.
I forgot which celebrity meme was going off on that, but to your point, if you're 80 and you try it, and for whatever reason it's not to your expectation, you could check out with a big smile on your face because you gave it your all and you knew you did that. And if you're at 80 and you didn't even bother for all these other reasons, then you're always going to feel like you missed out on something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So to your great point, it doesn't matter if they love it, they hate it, how it's even received, but you write it and you publish it and you let it out into the world, and it's just so satisfying.
Yeah.
Yep. It really is.
I think a lot of writers, and maybe you could answer this question too, you write your stories for yourself because it's something that you want to see, but you have to go by the rules, and you want other people to like it, so you kind of have to play that game, and
find that sweet spot.
Yeah, finding a balance. It's like that quote that's often attributed to Picasso, which is something like, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them as an artist. So just get your writing good. Like, just make it so it doesn't suck. To your point, Sherry, don't make common mistakes. Proofread before you publish. Read it out loud. Make sure that it makes sense, that it's entertaining at every point. Make sure there's no continuity problems. Make sure you love it and get into it. And then make sure, again, you're doing it like a pro. And then have your heart sing like an artist. Like, to your point, Blake, do what you like. Make it a book that you want to read and enjoy and release to the world. Because anyone who tries to make everyone happy ends up pissing everyone off. And if you could have just some people love you and some people say, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Then it's pretty much mission accomplished, right?
Yep.
I just want to throw my sci-fi thing out there and, just be part of that. I don't care if I'm known as just the sci-fi guy. That's okay with me.
Your reputation precedes you. What have you guys been doing as far as marketing Mr. Fade? You're on this podcast, which is terrific. Thank you for joining me and making time and sharing your story. What other stuff have you done? I saw on your website you've got some awards, you've got some good reviews.
Yeah.
You're getting attention, and I'm an indie sci-fi writer too, so I'm all ears to steal some of your secret sauce, or at least hear anything that you've picked up in terms of best practices for getting the word out.
Oh, that's a great question. That's what we stumble with the most, in all honesty, especially me, because I don't really want to talk about myself so much. So it's like,
a lot of indie writers do face that. You read all the horror stories where we just want to stay in our little bubble and create, but marketing, it's really hard and challenging. And, so you either have to know someone, get some friends to help you like we did.
and are doing.
One of our friends created that website for us.
Yeah.
And we gave her all the information. And she put it up, and she did a great job.
Thanks, Kathy.
Yeah, Kathy Cabral. We'll give her a plug.
You guys got nice covers.
Thank you.
How did the covers happen? You got a good website, cool covers.
Okay, we went to Reedsy, where they had a section where you could look for artists, and we sent it out there. We had a few negative. They just said, no, we're busy. Well, I found this woman on accident, and she draws from scratch. And I was watching her tutorial. Her name is Rebecca Haskell, and it's Vivid Covers. I'm going to give her that plug.
All right, another shout out.
And I got a hold of her, and she said, "Yeah, let me work with you." And she has like 3 tiers of pricing, and then she did like 5 turnarounds. So there's 5 different covers, and then we picked. I wanted scenes from the books.
Right.
A lot of sci-fi novels right now, and I don't know if there's scenes from the novels. It's usually somebody standing away looking at something, or their spaceships, which they're cool. The artwork is great, but the stories are not about spaceships. They're about the characters. So I start thinking back on the old Star Wars posters, where you had the bad guy looming in the back and, the main character. Yeah. And I wanted something like that. The second book was inspired by the novel Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Remember that one where Darth Vader is standing in the back and Luke and Leia?
That was one of the earliest Star Wars novels.
Yeah, it was supposed to be the sequel. If it failed, they weren't going to make Empire, but it got so big, and then they put that one aside and then went on with Empire and Jedi. That was a really good story.
I remember it in the bookstore, the Splinter in the Mind's Eye. Wow, you're bringing back all these terrific sci-fi memories. Really cool.
Yeah, the first cover is also a scene from the story, and we just collaborated with it because she gave us different ideas. And
she was a good listener too.
Yeah.
To understand what we were looking for, and she just has a good sense of vision. When you talk to her, she picks up on things.
Yeah. And she can't wait to get work on number 3.
That's exciting. And have you done any other promotional opportunities, like paid advertising, social media?
A little social media. We have not gone down the paid advertising road yet. I mean, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
We've been to book fairs and book workshop thing, and sold books that way. We're really kind of in our early stages of getting out of our shell and going for it, So another reason we certainly appreciate you taking time to talk to us.
Yes.
This is wonderful for me too. By extension, I'm a first-time sci-fi novelist. And I have a lot of the same challenges. I wrote the book that I wanted to always read ever since I was 12, 13 years old, and I saw the lightsabers and TIE fighters and the Death Star blowing up. I was like, wow, I want to do something like that. And I've been a writer for years and years and years, and I finally figured it out in terms of how you guys began the conversation, which is focus on character. I'm kind of geeky and I'm all into science, and I would always be distracted with world building and some cool idea. And the obvious finally hit me that I need to have a great character. And that hit me like in the midst of the pandemic. I'm sitting there with a cup of coffee in my kitchen, and boom, the idea hit me, and with the character and the arc of the story. So I wrote a short story that nailed the style. And then I was off to the races. And then I taught myself how to really write a book, which is a big deal. People take it for granted that
it is.
It's hard. Everyone says, I could write a book if I had time. Yeah. Okay, go for it. It's hard. It's a big skill to just learn how to write a book. So I figured it out, and I finally did the book of my dreams, but I'm in the same boat, which is how do you get people to hear about it when something like 120,000, 130,000 books are published a year? Science fiction is really crowded too. You've got so many writers, self-published folks, and just being able to sort out the good stuff is hard enough, let alone getting the attention of people who would be into the style that you've captured in the world that you've created and the character that drives it. So it's tough. Part of my motivation for this podcast too is to talk to folks exactly like you, which is let's share best practices. Listeners who have already tuned into the podcast are also indie writers who are trying to figure out how to get better at the writing and then get better at the promoting too.
Yeah.
So we feel for them all.
We just want to try to hit all the book fairs because, we have our little cards. You hand them out with the little QR code and it goes to your website and go from there. And
I think,
yeah.
I think too, we need to get to we've talked about it and not done it. And so many people have said, can't you give us audiobook? And we're hearing that a lot. And, we're Gen X. We read books. So, but, a lot of younger folks have said that really sounds cool, but do you have an audio version? And I think we're going to go that route. I mean, I think it's worth getting it done, but we wanted it to sound unique, and we wanted it to sound of the quality, in terms of the voice, but it isn't a cheap thing to do. So we have to really, we have to look carefully at it. But I do think that is something that if you don't do that, at some point you're kind of missing a whole chunk of audience.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this whole idea of content repurposing is where it's at, especially in the digital age. Because, a lot of people don't have time to read, and there are different modalities. I know I love my podcasts and my audiobooks because, you could be doing something else and plug it right in. And it's also exciting because your novel is, in a sense, a blueprint for your imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it becomes something else, like an audiobook, or if Netflix comes knocking like everyone dreams, and they convert it into a mini series, then it's some whole new kind of thing. So, and in between is the graphic novel, like I was mentioning, which is another form of expression. And that takes partnering with other creative people. So you got to kind of give up your vision a little, and you need to make a whole new set of compromises. And sometimes it's even better than it started. And other times you're probably like, oh my God, no, that's not Derek. You have a mental image that you've created. So that has its own challenges. And I'm sure that's true even with an audiobook, where someone's reading it with a tonality and a pacing where you're like, what? Wait a second. That doesn't quite nail that scene or that mood, because they're interpreting it even as they read it.
Yeah, so it's absolutely true. And with science fiction, you have the additional, I know we do, you have the additional finding the right voice and the right person to do it. You have the additional challenge of, we use words that don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a lot of cussing and stuff in the book, but Derek does a lot of cussing. You just never heard those words before. They're from whatever planet and whatever.
Oh, that's clever. That's good.
Yeah.
It's like the Wookiee speak, when he's going, he's saying, F you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's an additional challenge for anyone who would come along and be able to do audio. I mean, I think science fiction adds a challenge for people who like to do audio. So
what I've done as a DIY kind of guy, so I got the day job, I'm doing the writing, and I really don't have the funds right now, probably because I spent so much time writing, to, hire a bunch of people, get paid advertising. So I've been kind of winging it. So one thing I did was I set up a Twitter account with the main character's name, at Johnny Fazuli on X. And then I started tweeting my whole novel in reverse. So when you go to Johnny Fazuli on X, you scroll down, you got the whole novel unfolding. That was one thing I did, to just kind of let it out there as like this lighthouse of tweets from the book. Okay. And then I did my own audiobook readings. So I hijacked one of my own podcasts, and my book is divided into sections that are about between 4 and maximum 8-9 pages. Make it very readable and chunky. So that's a 15 to 20 minute leisurely read. So I read half the book. It's 6 episodes, and I read the first 3. So the first 200 pages in like daily audiobook snippets of me reading and me doing the characters, because
Huh.
I hired myself for free, and I just had to deal with my boss, who could be a jerk, namely me. But I put it out there that way, and I've been doing goofy stuff like this to kind of keep the momentum going for just releasing content and repurposing it. I know a lot of artists hate AI, but I went and I used ChatGPT, the DALL-E function, and I created all the characters using prompts from my book, so I could see them. And then I created a website, and then I created little vignettes, like storyboarded some of it out. And just so I could see it, and it starts coming to life with me just goofing around with the computer and with apps. So now I'm at the point where I was talking to another writer that I was on another podcast with, and she was like, I'll do the voices in your book, because she's an opera singer and she's a voice coach.
Ooh.
And I'm like, hey, you know what? What if I did the narration like I've already done it, and I just cobble together this social network of writers, voice people, and people who might just want to be in an audiobook and kind of go for it and see what happens. So that's where I'm at. So rather than spend, $5-10 grand on an audiobook, which is what it's going to cost to, get it out there, DIY it and see what happens. So that's on my plate. Hopefully I can get it out before the Christmas holiday.
Okay,
That's cool.
But that's why I'm just going to kind of wing it, because why not?
Why not? Well,
Why not?
again, the opportunities that you 100% are going to miss are the ones you never try. It's you got to do something. You got to put it out there. But I say that, but in all honesty, I can't imagine myself reading my book out loud.
Yeah. Well, you're the introvert. You're the introverted, taciturn, shy one, and Blake could probably do it. You could do some characters.
No, I don't know.
You don't think so? Where are you from? You got a slightly southern accent. Where are you from? No?
I'm from here. I'm from Riverside.
Oh, so you're a native Californian.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I should know better. I was born and raised in Chicago. That's where my twang probably comes from. Lived in New York, and I just moved to California last year. So maybe
I'll do a Brooklyn accent for you. No.
Yeah, that's right. You can do a fade an accent. So you guys are both native Californians?
Yeah, I am, but I'm first generation. If you needed a Southern accent, I can do it. I'm not going to right now, but
there you go.
My whole family is from the South, and I learned to speak from them. So until I was about 14, I had a Southern accent. And then by that time in your life, the kids are teasing you out of it in Southern California. So I worked on getting rid of it.
The sequel of my novel takes place in the Panhandle for the most part. So if I do the audiobook of book 2, I'm going to hit you up. See if you we need some Southern gals in there. That's pretty funny.
Sounds good.
That is cool. So book 3 comes out when?
Oh, okay.
Well, we don't know yet. There's a draft finished, but we're just fine-tuning it. Yeah, tweaking and fine-tuning, because we want it to be as perfect as we can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
how do you guys work? Like, if Sherry's doing most of the keyboard gymnastics and Blake, you're like providing the creativity and story arc and all that, do you guys have a set time during the week to sit down and collaborate? Do you guys just kind of wing it? Does Sherry sit at the computer and you kind of lean over her shoulder and look at stuff? How does this work in terms of a partnership?
Well, he will go ahead and write the whole thing out, like the screenplay that he visualizes it. I'll read it, then he'll send it to me to read, and then I'll have a million questions, and I start putting in the answers to those questions in the margins, and then usually it's like a Sunday morning, sitting down having tea and going over it together, and he will say it's got to be like this, it's got to be like that, and then if I will say things like, but if you just did this, how can you possibly do that? That can't happen. And then we have to come up with, another scenario, and he will.
Yeah.
So I try to pick out the little things that's like, can we adjust here and there? And then I sit down and write it. Then he reads it. Then he corrects me. And then I clean it up. And then that's when we bring in someone to help us with the editing.
Yeah. So when you write a screenplay, you can kind of head hop because it's like a movie, but I have to remember this is for a novel. So I train myself to just keep everything from Derek's point of view.
Right.
And then I turn it over to her. And so it took me a little like retooling to do it that way. I could snap it out really quick because I like to show what the bad guys are up to like they do in the movies, but you can't do that.
You can.
And with chapters, you could break it up that way.
You can break it up with the asterisks and things like that. But I think it helps, even when he does like kind of jump into the heads of other characters, it helps me understand those characters. So if I can't jump into that head, I can have Derek see things, think things that are what Blake had in mind because he's described it so well.
Mm-hmm. And he's witnessing what's going on.
Yeah, through witnessing and through his ability to read people. I mean, he didn't get to be one of the top GIA folks without being able to read his audience and read his room, you know.
And you know what they say, show don't tell. So yes.
So but we do
I'm guilty of that by my own admission because I love to just let it loose. So my narrative is a lot of showing, but then I set up the little podium and then I start yakking about everything. And then it goes back to the action. I can't help myself. So there's different styles of doing it, right?
As long as the audience follows it. And I see, because when we first started, my hand got slapped a million times because I would put out some pieces of it to a writers group,
forgot the name.
Sci-fi gosh, I want to plug them too, but I can't think of their name. And it's just other people who were doing what we're doing, and they would nail me. They would just smack my hand virtually and say, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't use an adverb, you can't, there are all these things you can't do. You can. You just have to know, like you said, what the rules are before you break them. But I learned so much from that I learned more about how to tell and show. And it's a process. It's a learning process.
Yeah. Like, Blake, when you're writing a screenplay, and a real screenplay has no real telling. It's got to be all show because you're just instructing the crew where to put the camera. Yes. What to shoot. Yep. All you see are actions that the characters are doing or the camera is following and dialogue. Yeah. That's it. There's no backstory where you don't set up the scene in the screenplay that, his father left him when he was 5 and, he lived as a hobo until he was 20. That's completely irrelevant. It's just you see the guy, you describe him, he says some things, he does some things, and everything is inferred. So there's got to be a balance between the two, right? For good writing. Yeah.
Yes.
And over the years, I created a Bible and I created a backstory for all of the characters. That's how I'm able to just throw them in. Okay, this story is good. And between the first 2 books, there are 9 stories, so 9 episodes. And so if Sherry's working on episode 3, I'm on episode 4 in my office, and then I'll hear, honey, and I'll go into her office and we talk about this. And then I have to go back in to my section and work on that.
Yeah.
So that's thrilling.
Yeah.
Has your marriage and relationship gone to a new level since you guys have been so closely collaborating creatively? Because you guys have a very unique, very distinctive dynamic, and it just seems to, even on the surface, seeing you guys talk to each other and be excited about the books that you're writing, not very many couples do this. Very, very few couples do things that are interactive like this.
Yeah.
We'll go to a show together, or we'll go to the restaurant and look at each other. But you guys are really like a team, a creative team. And it's nice to see.
It started out because I'm also an independent filmmaker. So when I'm working on movies, she'll come along and be a script supervisor. So
Wow.
we work together on set as well.
Wow.
We have a big circle of friends that we work on each other's movies. And if I'm directing or whatever, then she's script supervisor, or I'll do lighting for one of my friends' films or camera work. I'm a big camera geek. So it started with that.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, as far as the relationship goes, is that we didn't start doing this until we were full grown. We may have known each other for a long time, but we had a mature, connected relationship before we started trying to do this. We didn't get together to write books together. We got together because we had chemistry, obviously. And then the fact that we were already, in our late 30s and stuff, and before we're talking about this kind of thing, I guess it's partly luck and partly maturity and respect.
Yes.
I just find it wonderful to see, because I've had my own, like everybody, relationships ups and downs, and also creative partnership ups and downs. It's so easy to get into disagreements about roles and responsibilities. Invariably, one person feels like they're doing most of the heavy lifting, and then they often get passive aggressive about it. It builds up, arguments come out, then opinions like the character should do this or should do that, the story should evolve this way or that way. And just based on your dynamic, it seems like you guys are really in sync on so many levels, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, it's kind of a well-oiled machine. Huh?
Yeah. I mean, there are times if I see something or he sees something, it's all about how you say it, really. Honey, this might not work quite the way you visioned. Can we brainstorm it?
Yeah.
And
then I go in my office and rewrite something else really quick. I'll come out 20 minutes later. How about this?
Yeah.
Like a guitar riff. I can go in there and just, create something really quick. And
so it does take a lot. It takes a lot of back and forth. A lot of back and forth.
For
you have to actually like spending time together.
Yeah. What doesn't?
Another creative parallel thread here. It's like you guys work together so symbiotically, and then you create, the Chronicles of Derek Fade. That's your output. And then you have this factory pumping this out. But then you have your own interpersonal dynamic and the chemistry and the cooperation. That's kind of its own story. So there's almost another book that's being written in terms of how you guys collaborate. And I have to just repeat myself that it's very inspirational. You guys might take it for granted, but a lot of couples spend a lot of time feuding, wasting time, and you guys are productive and create together.
Yes.
Which is again very wonderful to engage with. That's cool. It's inspirational.
I don't ever take it for granted. I hope it never seems like I take it for granted, and I don't feel like he does, because it is unusual, and it is something that it just makes life different. I don't know how to explain it.
You also have to remember discipline yourself. We try to write every day. I'm still working my day job. I get off at 3:00. Luckily, my office is 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
I come home, I decompress a little bit. By 5:00, I'm on the computer writing until about 11. And then, you got to let it go, and so you can go to sleep.
Yeah. And I'm retired, so I get up at 8 a.m. after he's left, and I fiddle around until all of a sudden I'm sitting there doing likewise at mine.
Another great point, which is the doing. And this goes into what I was saying earlier, when partnerships disintegrate because one person is doing all the work and the other person just kind of shows up when they feel like it. And it sounds like you guys are dedicated daily, which is what being an artist is all about. It's easy to sip an espresso and talk about Schopenhauer in a cafe, and thinking about talking about actually being an artist. But art is a daily effort. You wake up and you do it, and it sounds like you guys are both in it to win it together. And I think that's really the most inspiring and also necessary foundation for it to work.
Yeah, I feel guilty if I don't work on something. And some nights are different. Sometimes I spend the evening going over what I wrote and go, that sucks. Let's change this. And I might only move the story a paragraph, where some nights I'm writing, 4 or 5 pages. I'm not one of those writers that does a word count. I see people say, "Oh, I wrote 5,000 words today." I don't care about that. I don't do that. We trim the story later. It's just like filming. I get all my, my B-roll, A-roll, and then just get it from there. I don't even know how many words our books are. But yeah,
but I think too, he said feels guilty if he doesn't work on it. I feel like I'm letting him down if I don't put in my part. So, it's part of the marriage. It's like, this is part of what we got together to do. I guess we didn't realize it at that moment, but so I don't want to let him down. I got to figure out my part. So I guess it's kind of that.
Inspirational. And it really, really resonates for me where, in the past I've had creative partners where I am doing some heavy lifting and I felt taken advantage of, which is like, all right, buddy, just keep cranking it out. And every once in a while I'll chime in with an amazing idea for you.
That would not go well with me.
That's not going to fly. Yeah. And I do appreciate that intensity and the B-roll too. So to finish my sci-fi novel, I worked on it really hard for about a year. And you guys probably know the feeling when it all comes together.
Yeah.
And you're at the home stretch where it's all laid out, you see it, and then all of a sudden things pop out that are missing. You got to fill in the blanks, draw some bridges together. A few characters are hanging loose. You got to wiggle them around a little bit to get them back in. And then when you wiggle them in, then all of a sudden a bunch of other things change. And then you're kind of going back and forth, but you could see the entire book and the entire story in your head. And to me, that's the most exciting part of any creative project where you're like Michelangelo with the marble and then you see David there. And sometimes just, polishing his balls could be, you know what I mean? Like so much fun, right? You're tinkering around with it. So for my book, I locked myself in my apartment pretty much for 2 months. This April, May was insanity, like 18-hour days. And it was there. And all this work came together. So I was kind of a combination of both Blake and Sherry. Where Blake was there with the ideas and I was, doing this and it finally came together. So I could relate. And I just think it's super cool that there are two of you.
We keep each other on track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when we're out with our friends, we geek out, because we'll say something, "Oh, Derek would do that." And all of our friends know the story, and they'll say, "Oh boy, here we go."
Here we go. They're geeking out.
Yeah. Or we go places and we get influenced. So we got to throw Derek in this situation.
Yeah. Just the other day, same person, Kathy, who did our website, was standing in the kitchen and she said something to me. And I said, "Stop, say it one more time. I'll be right back." And she knew what I was doing. I was running in there to scribble down what she said because I said, Derek would say that. I got it.
Yeah, so that'll be in the third book somewhere.
Yeah.
I grab my phone randomly and, the little notes app I use for quick stuff. Either I record something or I'll scribble. And I could be listening to a podcast. I could be talking to somebody and I'm like, boom, that's a nugget I got to capture. And then somehow it gets into the text, which is a good best practice. So I think a great way to cap our wonderful conversation is to share with our listeners, and I'm sure they'd be eager to hear a few things that work. You guys mentioned that you both put in equal effort and a lot of effort. So it's the grit, it's the grind, it's the focus, it's the determination to actually get content going. To your great point, Blake, too, it's like it's B-roll. You might crank out 10 pages, and once you whittle it down, it might just be nothing, or it might be a good conversation, or a few pages last. Anything else you could share for up and coming indie writers who?
Well, I think world building, you have to get into that and be careful. It depends what genre you're doing. But for me, because I have a clean slate, this is sci-fi, fantasy, or adventure, I had to create the whole galaxy. I had to create the names of all the planets. I had to create the names of the characters. And I try to make up names that people can pronounce without slowing down the read. I've read a few sci-fi books that the name is, 3 inches long. And, you find yourself skipping over it just to keep reading. So I try to work with names that are, I twist names around. And
no Slarta Bart fast for you. Remember Douglas Adams from Hitchhiker's Guide? He deliberately picked the worst sounding, most awful name to do exactly what you said you shouldn't do. Right.
I think you really have to remember that there are always going to be times when you think you're wasting your time. That's going to hit you like, I'm wasting my time. This is never going to. You have to know to get past that. You have to stop yourself and say, this isn't about, again, what we talked about. This isn't about what everybody else thinks. This is about what feels great to do. And this is what about is in our heads and coming out. And I think it's about sharing responsibility and showing appreciation, as if you're co-writing, showing appreciation to the other person for what they bring to the table that you don't. And having a sense of commitment. And it's also supposed to be fun.
That's the main thing.
Big
fun.
Baby. Otherwise, I like to say too, it's like, why are you a writer? It doesn't matter if you're science fiction, fantasy, horror, or whatever. It's like, it's hard work, and chances are you're not going to make a buttload of money. I mean, it would be great if we did, but there's a lot easier ways to make money, like sell crypto or something. Do anything. But if you're sitting there spending all these hours, and if you don't like it, if it's not satisfying, and the output doesn't thrill you, then why are you doing it? Yeah. Thanks so much for your time, your insights, and just it really warms my heart to see a sweet couple like you guys, where you're not only getting along and you're so symbiotic in so many ways, but you're like a creative engine too.
I appreciate the way you brought the questions home.
Yes,
because it really did. It provoked us to really think through what our answers were. So appreciate it.
Thanks again for joining us on the Science Fiction and Fantasy Factory. It's wonderful having you, Blake and Sherry Shimshock. They are the co-authors of the Chronicles of Derek Fade, with the third novel coming out. We'll give heads up on that. We're going to put links in the podcast to your awesome website.
Cool. Thank you.
You can get the books. Keep posted and keep in touch. And thanks for your ideas, and mostly thanks for your inspiration. You give all of us hope that not only can we all be terrific writers, but we could find somebody to really partner up with to make all of our dreams come true. That's nice. Well, really nice to see.
It was. Thank you so much for your time and for a great interview.
Yes.
The best interviews are the ones where you actually learn something about yourself as you open your mouth to talk, and I feel like I did. So thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Like, comment, share, folks. And we'll be back for more.
All righty.
Thank you. Take care.